Yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday afternoon. We've got UFC Saudi Arabia coming up tomorrow early. Don't sleep in because it's starting at like before noon. So we're going to get these fights over with early, be able to get a Saturday night with our friends and family where we don't have to actually be anchored to the couch watching the UFC. I'm looking forward to this card. I think it's going to be some fun fights. Definitely, this was not the easiest week to be a content creator. I mean, I think that there were 8 canceled fights on this card, or where there have been new opponents. Some of these guys have had 2 new opponents in the last week. It's crazy. You know, there's been just a lot of cancellations. Fat Gastelum shows up 15 pounds heavy. I mean, it's just been a wild one. This is the 3rd opponent that Antonio Trocoli has had in the last month. He was supposed to fight Omar Sy like a month ago. Then he was supposed to have Aliskerov last week. Now he's supposed to fight Shara tomorrow. It's a weird card, you know, and this is one of those ones where we come off a week where everything came together like butt cheeks. It was just fantastic. We had last week up over 6 units tracked. We hit the Greasy 4-leg parlay last week for plus 607. That was another 3 units untracked. I had a massive DraftKings day with my cash lineup. All 6 fighters won. I was second in the Ironman that week and won 12 units on DraftKings. So, yeah, very, very good week last week. But we got to keep it rolling because we got UFC Saudi Arabia this Saturday. We got UFC 303 next Saturday. Then we're going to have a week off for July 4th. So want to put together 2 more winning weeks here going into that week off. Get a little bit of a head of steam behind us here so that we can go into the second half of the year on a hot streak, ready to really push those units up to a big number by the end of the year. So welcome. We're going to break down a Greasy 4-leg parlay for you guys for this UFC Saudi Arabia event. And we're going to start with leg number 1, which is going to be the Rinat Fakhretdinov money line at minus 375. This is Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week. I do like Rinat to win this fight, win it in dominant fashion. I even think that he might be the first person to finish Nicholas Dalby officially in the UFC or as a professional. So Rinat is a guy that I know is a very dominant fighter. He spends about 75% of his UFC cage time in control time positions, and he's winning over 90% of those control time positions. The offensive wrestling is there. The gas tank is there. And when he's on the feet, the guy's just a menace because he has a ton of power. He uses that striking to set up the entries on his takedowns. He's landed 3 knockdowns in only 4 UFC fights. So when he is on the feet, he's extremely dangerous and difficult to deal with. And then you have the threat of the wrestling and the power to deal with at distance striking range. And when you're worrying about both of those things, it makes it hard to get your own offense off. That's why Rinat has been so dominant thus far. A lot of people were down on the last performance, the draw against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Don't forget, he won the first 14 minutes of that fight, maybe 14 and a half minutes of that fight until he got that kick in the liver that almost finished him at the end of the 3rd. It's the only reason that even Zaleski won the 3rd round, much less had a chance to get a draw in the fight. So Rinat Fakhretdinov, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, an extremely dominant fighter, is going to be the first leg of this parlay. A nice wide leg to kick it off. Leg number 2 is going to be the Muhammad Naimov money line at minus 103. So let's get that in there. So with Naimov, we've got a guy that is has 3 UFC fights. He even was on Dana White's Contender Series prior to making his UFC debut on short notice up a weight class against Jamie Malarkey, a fight that he won by 2nd round knockout. Muhammad's 3-0 in the UFC thus far. And if you look at the betting lines on his fights, they had him at they opened him at plus 450 versus Malarkey. He cashes there. They open him up around plus 170, I think, against Nate Wood, and he gets a win there. But the money did kind of come in on Naimov there. And then he was kind of opened up at a close number against Eric Silva, who I don't rate at all. And a lot of people were betting on Eric Silva against this guy. I don't know. The market's gotten Muhammad Naimov wrong, hilariously wrong, 3 fights in a row at the UFC level. I think they're still trying to hold the Colin Anglin performance against him. And I think the people that are holding that against him don't have access to the information that Muhammad took that fight on less than 1 week's notice. Of course, he gassed out. You know, I mean, he almost finished the guy in the first round on less than a week's notice, not knowing that he was even going to be on Dana White's Contender Series. Knocks down Anglin, almost finishes him, and gasses out. And then people talk about how he's a gas bag who has no endurance. And I'm just like, what? Have you watched this guy fight yet? And so he's fighting this Lima kid who's a very good prospect. He's the Octagon bantamweight champion, a good win over Jonas Magard about 11 months ago, but he got hurt. He hasn't fought since then. And he was supposed to fight Jonas a month from today in Octagon and give Jonas the rematch because he won the belt off of Jonas for the 135-pound championship. So, yeah, now he steps up, flies to Saudi Arabia, didn't even take this fight until Monday, probably had to cut some weight. And he's making his UFC debut under very difficult circumstances against a much more experienced opponent, the guy who has fought the much better level of competition, and it's not even close, really. Yeah, Naimov is more, he's fought the better brand of competition. He's a lot more powerful on the feet. He's the better wrestler. And he's the bigger guy. He's the natural featherweight while Lima is taking this fight as a bantamweight up a weight class to get this opportunity. So definitely like Muhammad Naimov. I think it's important to note that a lot of people do think that this guy Lima is a very good prospect, but like, is he better than Nathaniel Wood? Because if he is, you know, why isn't he here already? If he's not better than Nathaniel Wood, then how is he going to beat Muhammad Naimov on less than 1 week's notice up a weight class? I just don't get it. So I like Muhammad Naimov a lot here. I think this line is a great way to fatten up the odds of this parlay here, because I think Naimov should probably be about around minus 200 for this fight. But this will just be the 4th time in a row that the market got Muhammad Naimov completely wrong. And this is going to be the 4th time in a row that your Uncle Weezy cashes on it. He was Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week against Eric Silva. Made that look very easy, but it was a lucky one. He did get hurt. But either way, like Naimov a lot here. So that money line brings us up to plus 151. Let me share my screen with you guys here. So, yeah, that brings us up to plus 151. Leg number 1, Rinat Fakhretdinov money line, minus 375. Leg number 2, Muhammad Naimov money line, minus 103. Leg number 3, the under 1.5 rounds at plus 123 for Volkan Oezdemir going up against Johnny Walker. I hope that Volkan's got no time for this fight, and then he just goes out there swinging, blasting like Yosemite Sam. Look, making it a killer be killed performance here, because if you drag Johnny Walker into that type of a fight, he'll oblige, and he'll either get knocked out or he'll knock you out. So I do like violence in this spot. My betting models, which are available on my Patreon, really do like this bet. The fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 118 is a good plus EV bet. The under 1.5 at plus 130, which I believe is where it was on Bet Online. 8 of 10 Johnny Walker fights have finished under 1.5 rounds in the UFC, and it's 4 of 11 for Oezdemir. Add that up and you get 12 of 21 or 57%, but we're only paying 43% price on the plus 130. It's underpriced when you compare the price of the line to the divisional benchmark. It's underpriced when you consider the 57% under 1.5 rate compared to the 43% price of the line. And these guys are finishing fights under 1.5 rounds at a 12% clip higher than the division does it as a whole. So it means it's underpriced on all 3 metric comparisons. We're getting plus money, and stylistically, I like it. It's not like Walker or Oezdemir are coming out there and being casual early in fights. Even in the fights where you do see them going past round 1, it's usually there's a lot of violence in round 1, and that they're both just durable guys. So I do like violence here. This is a great way to get the odds up on the parlay here. So when we put this 3rd leg here, the under 1.5 rounds at plus 123 brings us up to plus 461. So now that we've got the odds on the parlay pretty juicy here, we want to finish on 1 leg that's going to give us an opportunity to hedge out and cash should the first 3 legs hit here. And I'm going to give you a nice wide one here that I really like to hit. And that is going to be the fight does not go to decision for Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. That's a minus 385 line. That brings the parlay up to plus 607. This is one of my favorite spots on the card. Pavlovich is a guy who's never even seen a second round yet in the UFC. It's the way that he fights. He's fast, he's accurate, and he's powerful. So he finds his way into the pocket. He finds ways to get you to trade with him. And when you do, he's probably going to land before you do. And if he lands, oh boy, you're going to break bones in your face. This guy Pavlovich has got canned hams for fists. He's got a ton of power. It looks like he could bench press a bus. He's not the kind of guy you want to get hit in the face by, I'll tell you that. And Volkov, I know that there's a narrative issue here where people are saying they've trained before and they're friends and they're not going to fight. You go ahead and bet the narratives. I'll bet what I've seen in the cage. And what I've seen in the cage is that Sergey Pavlovich is an absolute killer. He never has been really a guy that's tried to win minutes. He's going to go out there and try and knock your head off. And if he's unable to do that, the body type that he has, he's unable to push a pace for longer than 3 or 4 minutes. I don't think any human being on the planet could push a pace if they were built like Sergey Pavlovich as long as he does. So I like this fight to finish inside the distance. If Sergey doesn't get it done early, I could see Volkov absolutely knocking him out even early or late after he inevitably slows down. Volkov is a guy who's been to the scorecards a number of times in the UFC. But if you look at who he's going to the scorecards against, it's guys like Cyril Gane, who's a minute winner. It's guys like Marcin Tybura, who couldn't finish a potato. You know, these are guys that don't finish fights, really. And then the other 2 fights that went to the scorecards were like against Tim Johnson and Roy Nelson back in like 2016, 2017. So this is a nice wide one where if the first 3 legs of the parlay hit, we'll be able to get fight doesn't go to decision at like plus 300 and just hedge out and guarantee ourselves a profit. But this parlay comes out to plus 607 on BetRivers Sportsbook. If you were to do it on DraftKings, you can see right now plus 596 on DraftKings because Fakhretdinov minus 345. Fight doesn't go to decision for Volkov. Pavlovich minus 425. Naimov money line minus 105. Under 1.5 rounds for Walker. Oezdemir is plus 124. So plus 596 on DraftKings, plus 607 on BetRivers Sportsbook. We got 118 of you hanging out live here. Hit that thumbs up if you could for me. Hit that subscribe. I think I'm like 10 subscribers away from 3,000 on this YouTube channel. It would be quite a milestone for me to hit. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Appreciate you guys for your attention. Let's make some money this week on these fights and cash this parlay. Let's see what you guys are up to in the chat here. I know my guy Olajuwon Dream is always first in the room saying, "Oi, what is up?" And he's saying, "Let's get greasy." We got one of my fraternity brothers here in the room, Rob Pagorni, saying, "Nice hit last week. Let's roll this week too. You're dialed in. Stay hot, Unc. Let's stay hot, man. Six units tracked last week. I'm staying light this week, but I've got some upside bets that I think might hit. So we're really looking to keep it going, stay hot, and make it 2 parlays in a row here. We got my guy, Let's Roll 1313, saying this will not be easy this week, but if anyone can do it, it's our favorite Uncle Weezy. Appreciate you, my man. Let's get that money this week. We got Olajuwon saying the last greasy 4-legger got me back some much-needed units after a horrendous night. I'm glad, man. Yeah, that we hit that last one at plus 600 something. So let's hope we make it 2 in a row. Colby Saul in the room saying, "Let's go, Weezy. Excited for some fights tomorrow." I am too, man. And we're going to get done early too. Chris Reed's wondering if there's anybody in chat on PFL today. I know that I am not. We got Z Goler saying, "Oi, what is up, Z?" We got Pickle Kush in the room saying, "Oi, what up, all Weezy? Outside gardening, waiting for this 4-legger. That Kush doesn't plant itself. It does not plant itself. But boy, it grows itself, doesn't it? And absolutely, I hope you harvest the shit out of it and smoke it." We got Real Fight Pig saying, I'm not clear on the lineup, but am I allowed to be here? I'm not a Patreon member yet. No. You are allowed to be here. Yes, absolutely. This one is a free one that I do for everybody. We got Pickle Kush saying, almost. We got Golden Octagon in the room saying, oh, let's get Greasy. My man made me an intro. Now all I got to do is put that intro on a countdown video, and you're going to have a lot more of a professional experience here when you come to Uncle Weezy's channel. Big shout out to my guy Matt from the Golden Octagon. Check out his YouTube channel for MMA content. We got Robert Saladino. Ulberg is out next week. I know, dude. And check it out. Guess who was up until like 2 in the morning putting Carlos Ulberg versus Anthony Smith into all my spreadsheets for next week's cards? Yours truly. And then I wake up to find out that Ulberg's out, and now that Roman Dolidze will be fighting Anthony Smith for UFC 303. Wow. It's been crazy how many fight cancellations have happened in the last. June has been cursed for weight misses and cancellations and all and replacements and all this shit. It's a pain in the ass, man. We got J Bone saying strategic weight miss for Fat Gastelum. Well, I mean, they're moving it up to 185, and he's not going to get fined, so it could be very strategic. Lajuan saying, I thought Trockley would be a lot bigger than Shara, but wasn't that much of a size difference in my opinion. Yeah, he's a tall dude. Trockley's a specimen. He's a big guy, but yeah, Shara's a big dude too. Bill Norman in the room saying, what is up, Uncle Weezy? Let's grease it up and get that cheddar. Let's go, man. We got Pickle Kush saying almost enough canceled fights to make another fight card, and that's actually true. I think we have 8 canceled fights just on this card. And then next week, we already have lost Hill versus Ulberg. Then we lose Ulberg versus Smith. We lose McGregor versus whoever the Chandler. I mean, and then I'm sure there have been some other ones too. We got Ortega Lopez added to it. I mean, it's been a wild couple of weeks here. We got D Spearman saying, I'm at work. I made it, Weezy. Good to see you hanging out in here, D. Let's get that money this week. Broke D-Gen, my guy, and saying Weezy in the house, going to hit the parlay. Let's go, man. We got J-Bone saying ass shaving. Let's go. Yes, I do believe that Rinat's going to make it look easy this week. Rinat has 2 rounds in him. Well, if that's all he has in him, then he might be in trouble in the third if he doesn't get him out of there. Should have been stopped. It could have been stopped. It could have been. We got Antonio Esparza in the room saying, oh, what's up, Unc? What's up, Antonio? VTech saying, I don't get the love on Lima. He's fought twice in the past 3 years. Yeah, I don't get it either. And I don't get the hate on Naimov. They've gotten him wrong every single time. And these people keep doubling down, keep thinking that this guy is not very good. I don't know. We'll see. Yes, he is. Weezy, that's bad logic. I don't know what logic you're referring to there, J-Bone. Lima's very good, he's saying. Well, he's going to have to fucking prove it against an actual good fighter this time. That's the problem. I mean, like, Jonas Magard is a good win in a 5-round fight. Okay? But, I mean, I think Jamie Malarkey's a better win than that. I think even, like, Eric Silva's a better win than that. But I mean, certainly Nathaniel Wood, who's going out there and putting on a boxing clinic against John Castaneda. And he's going to go out there, this guy Lima, he better be very, very good. At the line that people are betting him at, if he's anything but spectacular, the Lima bettors are going to look like assholes. But I don't know. We'll find out. I've got 1.15 units on Naimov's money line. It's a short notice fight for both fighters, so it's hard to be extremely confident on it. I just see this line as being way off. Walker Club and sub for Olajuwon Dream. J-Bone saying he's a potential top 10 135er. Don't know where. Do you know who's in the top 10 of the 135-pound division? I mean, you got to be careful when you say shit like that. You got to be careful. This guy couldn't finish Jonas Magard, and he's going to go out there and beat Peter Yan and guys that are in the top 10 in this division. I mean, who in the top? Okay. We got Matt R saying, Weezy, what's up, bro? What's going on, man? Yeah, and it is good. I mean, at least it's a nice wide leg for the last leg hedge there. That is something that I like to do. I can't always pull it off, just because of how the fight card is stacked. And sometimes there's not a big leg that you can hedge out on the end. But this is one that you can just do fight goes if these first 3 legs hit. But if these guys who are on Lima this week are right about how good, like J-Bone is saying that he is, yeah, maybe the Naimov bet will be a sucker bet. Maybe I'll look like a complete clown for that one. But yeah, I just think that it's horrible circumstances to make your UFC debut, what he's doing. We got Matt saying, I feel like Volkov could pull an upset here. Yeah, man, if he survives early, I think he could. If Pavlovich doesn't get the round 1 KO, he loses his stopping power late. Yeah, I mean, he's never really showed stopping power outside of the first round. So, yeah, I mean, like, if Volkov can last, boy, he's going to look really good and look like he's got a really good chance to cash that plus 200 money line should he make it into the second and third round. You got Muhammad, I'm Ard Bruce Lee saying, oi, what is up, dude? We got Olajuwon Dream saying Volkov and Pav are getting a little heated at ceremonials. Yeah, I know. Volkov was saying something to the effect of, like, you said that I accepted this fight, but, I would have turned it down because we're friends. And Sergey was like, I don't know. They look to just be contentious about who accepted the fight first and what was said about who accepted the fight. We got Olajuwon saying, let's cash this bitch. I'm pretty much on all of these plays already, too. Well, let's hope that we're on to something this week, Olajuwon. Let's hope, man. Volkov can keep it in kicking range and outpoint Pavlo. Yeah, that's a possibility. It is a possibility for sure. We got Bo saying Lima is good, but Naimov is literally a weight class above him. Looked way bigger at the weigh-ins. Naimov has even fought and won at lightweight in his debut. Yeah, I know. Like I say, I think they've been getting the markets wrong on Naimov, and I think this one's wrong again. But these people who are on Lima think that this dude is very, very good. So he's going to get a chance to prove it tomorrow on less than a week's notice, up a weight class in Saudi Arabia against a Muslim fighter. I wish the kid luck. I do. But those are horrible circumstances to make your UFC debut under. Plus 543 on Bet365. It's okay, I guess. But yeah, we'd rather get plus 596 or a little bit better than plus 600. We got my guy Monk in the room. I was on bankroll or bust last week. I got almost half my bankroll on the Muhammad Naimov money line. So wish your Uncle Weezy luck here. Good to see Monk hanging out in here. And by the way, for you guys who missed it, the DFS show that I do with Monk and Brady and Gordo is back. It's on Brady's YouTube channel, DFS by the numbers. We brought it back this week. We got our year-long contest going, and it's always a barn burner. It's always a fun show. So check us out, the DFS show on Brady's channel, DFS by the numbers. We're back. Matt R saying, don't think Naimov looked way bigger, but I do like him to win against the debutant. Yeah, he looked bigger, but he didn't look huge compared to Lima. I thought he might look a little bit bigger compared to Lima. T-Rex saying, let's get it, Uncle. We got Bosa Brewer saying, must be blind then, LOL. We got hell yeah, I like it, says Jay Bone. We got Matt saying, LOL, way to turn a simple, respectful disagreement into hostility. Not hostility. Professor Chaos saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? Not my favorite card from a betting perspective. Mine either, Professor Chaos. I'm definitely only 4 units deep on bets this week, I think. I got 1.15 on Naimov. I've got 1 unit on Chang Ho Lee's money line. I've got a half unit on Kong to win by decision. And did I sprinkle something else? What the fuck did I do? Oh yeah, and I've got 3/4 of a unit on the fight to not start round 2 for Volkan Oezdemir versus Johnny Walker. Sorry guys. Any prize picks? Nah, not this week, man. But I do like the Zhao Long under 59.5 significant strikes. I think that's going to be mostly a grappling match. And grappling fights, you only average 2.4 significant strikes landed per minute in the clinch and on the ground. So very hard to get over 60 significant strikes in a grappling heavy contest. So that's my favorite leg this week, but I haven't looked at much else. So yeah, I don't have anything. Yeah, there's no hostility here. None. Must be blind then. Shut up. That's okay. Ulberg out again. Yes, Ulberg is out. Yeah, like it's just been crazy, man. How many fucking replacement fights there have been. It's been absolutely crazy. It's absolutely nuts how many cancellations there have been. Anthony Smith, Vad Delidze, very winnable fight for Smith. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I got to look into it. Did COVID come back? What the heck? Yeah, no kidding, right? We got Balboa Fight Picks in the room saying, first-time listeners, appreciate you, Balboa Fight Picks. Hope you enjoy the show, man. J-Bone saying, that's awesome, Weezy. Appreciate you, J-Bone. We got Mark Frost saying, Fat Gastelum has no shame. I know, man. I know. Showing up 15 pounds heavy for a fight is just wild. Trockley is a big guy, but his tape is awful. Gets wrestle-fucked by mid-welterweights. The problem with that, Matt, is like, that film is like 8 years old at this point. So it's so hard to know, like that's why I've got no money on that fight because, there is a possibility. I don't know how big it is. It's probably a very small possibility that Trockley, after all this time away from the cage, looks like a completely different fighter and looks awesome in there. There is that possibility, right? Are you willing to bet on that? I'm not. But also, like we know that Shara is somebody that can be taken down and held down. If Trockley does get some takedowns early in this fight, man, like holding a minus 200 Shara KO ticket, holding a minus 550 Shara money line ticket's going to be really a butt puckerer. So I'm just staying away from this, Robert saying, do you ever go against your stats and go with your gut when betting? Something is telling me Shara talking about making movies is not a good sign. Yeah, dude, I know. And yes, I do go against my stats. Like, look, what I love to do, Robert, is when my stats tell me, like, for instance, the fight this is one that I bet, I've got the plus 130 under 1.5 rounds for Oezdemir Walker in this parlay, but I bet for 3/4 of a unit, fight doesn't start round 2 at plus 200, right? Now the data, let me take your thing off here. The data is telling me that this is the best bet on the slate of all the over-under bets. When you look at the sum of 3 comparisons here, 38.1% is this plus this plus this. It means that the data is telling me that according to all 3 comparisons where I would price this bet to determine whether it's overpriced, on price, or underpriced, all 3 metric comparisons tell me that it's underpriced. And then when I watch the tape, what I see is that Volkan Oezdemir and Johnny Walker, that their win condition, if they're going to finish, is going to be a first round win. And that's what I see. I see that these guys are not guys that have a ton of conditioning and that carry their power late in fights. It's just not happening for them. So I think that not only is the data telling me that this bet is underpriced, but when I watch Johnny Walker fight and when I watch Volkan Oezdemir fight, what I come out saying is that I think that these guys are going to finish early or not at all. So that's where the stylistic read matches up with the data read. And then we just say that's a bet I want to make. So that's what I'm always looking for. I'm looking to see what I see on tape. And when it matches up with the data, that's something I want to be a part of. But there are other times where the data is screaming over and I'm like, I can't do it. Like I've got to go with my gut because I know what I saw on tape flies in the face of what the data is telling me. So you have to be able, the data is a guide. It's a guide on price more than anything. It's going to point out sometimes to you something that's underpriced. Then you're going to need to use your eyes when you do your tape study to determine, does the data match up with what my stylistic read of the fight is? So that's my answer to that question. I fucking hope you're kidding. Because I am going to put my fist through the wall if I have to make another, if I have to just completely cancel these spreadsheets and just blow it up and start from scratch. It's hot as fuck outside working, still rocking your show. Dude, I know. I was out walking the dog and it was hot today. It is hot in Chicago, 90s out here. So yeah, very hot. I hope you're kidding, dude. Olajuwon saying, I can't wait for the Delidze whisper next week on. Yeah, Monk is a huge Roman Delidze fan, and I can't wait for it. Volkan in the room, my guy, saying, oh, what's up, Volkan? We got Ucelis in the room. What is happening? Weezy, tell it is. Tell it how it is. Love your legs. Yeah, man, let's go. Let's all 4 legs. Let's get those legs running towards that finish line, towards that cash, where we all stack them like flapjacks this week, saying, and then we got Monk saying, what the hell yeah to Olajuwon. Alex Cruz saying we could have had Gastelum and Mini Gastelum on the same card. I know, man, it's crazy, but they are still on the same card. It's just now we got Fat Gastelum and Mini Gastelum on the same card, 185 and the 155 version. That situation with Volkov and Pav sounds like the UFC's workings. They probably both heard each other were in. Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? Like when I start listening to that narrative shit, I want to just get it out of my head because it's just noise to me most of the time. Yeah, I know. Naimov plus 100 on Caesars, Lima minus 120. Yep. Muhammad saying hit the like. Vitek saying, yeah, apparently UFC debuts lose 57% of the time. And, another thing about that, Vitek, is you look at some of the fighters, some of the best fighters in the UFC, a lot of them lost their UFC debuts. It's just winning a UFC debut. It's the biggest fight of your life. And a lot of times these guys come in on short notice, having prepared for another opponent and all of that. So, yeah, betting on a UFC debutant can be a tricky thing to do. You got to get the right number, and it's got to be the right matchup for them. Naimov is a savage, says my guy Sean V. I mean, he's good, man. And I just think that, it's not so much that he's like this killer that's going to go out there and destroy people. He's got a funny hat that I like, and those popping hats like Shavkat has, like Brendan Allen has, like Habib had, recently we got a guy that's like a Mongolian that's had these awesome hats and shit. And dude, those hats, they're like plus EV like a motherfucker. So you got Naimov with that really sweet, colorful, round hat. You like that, and I just think the market's been underrating it. No, I know, dude. Yeah. But don't worry about it, dude. We're all, it's all loving here, man. How do you handle these early cards? Coffee and blood for me. Yeah, man. Coffee. It's absolutely coffee. You get some fruit in you. You get some fresh fruit in you. You get some coffee. You get those blinds open. You get the sunlight into your house, and you're like, all right, let's watch some fights. That's how I do it, man. J-Bone saying, for the record, I'm not saying I think Lima wins or I'm super confident he wins. The kid has a lot of potential. I don't hate a bet on either side. I hear you, J-Bone. Yeah, the people, I mean, I'm surprised how much the market loves this Lima kid, because where the line is, they're pricing in that he's much better than him. Because when you consider all the negative circumstances, even if Lima was just as good of a fighter as Muhammad Naimov on paper, let's say that that's the case, he should be plus 150, plus 175 just because of the short notice, because he has to fly to Saudi Arabia and make a weight cut, because he's been on an 11-month layoff, because he's been injured, because he's fought twice in the last 3 years, because he's fighting up a weight class, because he's fighting a guy that's 3-0 in the UFC so far. So yeah, man, this is going to be a weird one. We're going to see because this is basically a pick 'em now. Somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong, and we'll see how this fight plays out. Gastelum gets cut and starts a taco truck. This minus 200. Dude, I would eat at Fat Gastelum's Tacos. I would be there pretty much every day. I've got a taco place down the street from me. They love me there. They absolutely love me. They see this fat gringo coming in there at 6'2", 235, 240 pounds, can put away 7 tacos easily. And they're like, yeah, get that grill fired up. This fat fuck's gonna keep us in business. And I mean, I could see me being at that Gastelum taco truck too, talking MMA with them, having some fucking al pastor. I'd be there, man. Shara was a Sambo Master of Sport candidate. He can grapple. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all these guys can grapple, but when you get to the UFC level, you're either a really good grappler or you're not. And Shara's not. He can grapple. A lot of these guys can grapple, but then like I'm sure Bogdan Guskov, for instance, can grapple. He's got a brown belt. But did it look like he could grapple when Oezdemir took him down? Did it look like he could grapple when Ryan Spann took him down? No, man, he's out of his depth there. Shar is a striker. He's a sambo master of sport. But, I mean, like every time Bruno Silva took him down, he couldn't get back up, and he wasn't stopping the takedowns either. So Shara needs to keep this fight standing. I think he will, because we just don't know what to expect out of Trocoli at all. Kelvin going for the millie if he gets cut. Yeah, he might get cut after this. He could. I mean, you show up 15 pounds heavy for a fight card in Saudi Arabia where you're trying to impress the sheiks. That's going to make Dana really mad, I think. PFL bound, yeah. Bo's saying definitely has potential, J-Bone. He can have a good run at bantamweight. What we think of closing odds of Gastelum Rodriguez will be, yeah, the money is coming in on D-Rod. I could see it come, like minus 200 Gastelum plus 170 for Rodriguez. Trocoli by sub is plus 1,600. Anything could happen, especially if he comes in on the bad eye side for a single leg. Yeah, man. Dude, I mean, like, I know Brady just told me, I think he had no bets on this card. He found Trocoli by sub at plus 2,000. He's like, fuck it, I'm playing it. You only got to throw down a quarter unit on that to make a ton of money, so why not? Matt saying stats aren't everything. There are so many other factors like strength of opposition. And personally, I don't think opponents' records are good for measuring strength of opposition. Yeah, but it is something that we do here, I mean, obviously that is good, and we have the strength of opposition for these guys, and you can find out what the ratio of the win to loss record of their opponents, what the average experience is, what the actual record is overall, wins, losses. And of course, stats aren't everything. These are fights, and everything's independent. So if you know anything about math, you know that past performance is not an indicator of future performance all the time, but it will give you benchmarks. It will give you a roadmap of how things work on the aggregate, and it's going to let you know what you're up against when your stylistic read matches up with what the bookies think is going to happen. Then the question is, where the rubber really meets the road, Matt, is when your stylistic read is the same stylistic read as the bookie, then what are you paying? That's when the fucking stats matter. Next one, we got to add context. Yes. Poke the eye. Yeah, poke the good eye. We got Robert saying Westchester, New York, 98 degrees right now. Wow. God damn it. It's hot there. It's hot in Chicago. It's hot everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saudi Arabia hot right now everywhere to let us know this is going to be a hot card tomorrow. Don't worry, I was kidding. Good. Thank you. Thank you, dude. Troy in the room saying, I'm friends with Johnny Walker on PlayStation. And he told me that he loves this matchup versus Volkov. Thinks he's going to win by KO, even though he's been working on his wrestling. Yeah, he should be working on his wrestling. He's so huge. I would love to see Johnny Walker wrestle more. This week, no. This week, I need a finish. But in the future, if Johnny Walker was a guy that I could count on for 2 takedowns per 15 minutes and some control time, man, he would be somebody I'd be backing on his money line a lot more. Keep up the great content, says Troy. Appreciate you, my man. How you get to be friends with Johnny on PSN? That's hilarious. I was on Nathaniel Wood last fight. Just hope Naimov cheats as much now that I'm betting him. Yes. Yeah, and he got away with it. Remember, he was in Abu Dhabi for that card. Now we're back in Saudi Arabia. There could be the similar situation where if he cheats, they don't want to take points from the Muslim fighter in Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? Oral by Mythical. That's the guy. Oral by the Mythical Hat guy. Yes. Before he was mad popular in the UFC, I always used to post Instagram stories asking people for people to play Fortnite with. That's hilarious. Shavkat is the best hat for sure. Agreed. Yes. Troy Noak saying, I took him up on the offer and now we're friends on PSN and talk once in a while on Fortnite. That's hilarious. Bro, if Kelvin starts a taco truck business, it won't survive his rap. Yeah, that's what we call, oh shit, what do we call that? When you eat your own profits, you don't get high in your own supply, as my guy Tony Montana would say, or not Tony Montana. It was actually Frank Lopez who told Tony about the rules, how you don't want to be a hassa. You don't want to be a pig that doesn't fly straight. You don't want to get high on your own supply. And you never, ever underestimate the other guy's greed. That's actually one of the best impressions that I do. I'm not going to do it for you guys because you don't pay me enough to do it. But my Robert Loggia impression from Scarface as Frank Lopez. It's top notch, ladies and gentlemen. Rest in peace, Robert Loggia, one of the great actors of all time. Johnny's a really nice guy. I believe it. Weezy, would you consider Gastelum a meat cube? He's more of a meat rectangle. He's really more rectangular shaped. But yes, I think that's an excellent, excellent description. I think Volkan is washed. His fight versus Paul Craig making him auto fade for going forward. Guskov just got nervous. Yeah, it could be. It could be, but I don't know. I picked Volkan for ass shaving of the week against Guskov. I always thought Guskov was a little bit of a fraud, but he's looking good, man. He's put together back-to-back wins, both by finish. So I got to back off that talk a little bit. Matt saying Naimov is training with the likes of Austin Hubbard, Corey Sandhagen, Chepe Mariscal, Justin Gaethje, Drew Dober, etc. Up at and I heard he was also training with Khabib's guys in Abu Dhabi for a while too, Matt. But yeah, Elevation Fight Team is where he spends a lot of his time. But I heard he also did some training in Abu Dhabi as well. Troy agrees with Immaculatan. I.e. Robert Saladino. Shout out Westchester, says my guy J-Bone. We got Matt, but the win-loss record of the opponent is also dependent on the win-loss record of their opponents and so on and so forth. No, I get that. Yeah, I get that. That's why I measure strength of opposition by opponents' records. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. It's another depth to it. If you could do it, if you had database form, but I'm in Excel is where all my stats are, so it allows me less functionality than what a SQL database would be. The rankings. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too, Matt. I think that's a great way to look at it. Do I web scrape or do you manually do all your stats? So what I do is I built these converters in Excel. So what I can go to do is after a card is over, I can go and cut and paste all the stats from UFC stats into my Excel converters, which then spits it out in a row where I can load it manually into each fighter history. And then the spreadsheet will do all the calculations and create all the calculations for the statistics based on their UFC experience. So I don't web scrape, no. Getting high in your own supply, yeah, that's a bad rule, my friend. Exactly. Biggie Smalls said, don't. Yeah, well, Biggie Smalls did not say that. Biggie Smalls said it because Tony Montana said it, because Brian De Palma wrote it in the script. You don't get high in your own supply. That is for sure. And yeah, that is one of the rules. And Biggie obviously had watched Scarface like I have. Troy Noak said that he likes the over 1.5 in Volkov versus Pavlovich. It seems that more often than not, when guys who are familiar with each other fight, they tend to feel it out way more. Yeah, that has happened in the past. Yeah, that could be frustrating. Matt likes it. D-Gen saying, can't believe the Saudi commission is letting fight Gastelum. Yeah, I know. But twice in one night. Yeah, man, he's just going to pack on 30 pounds. You know, small but big saying, who's going to shave my ass this week? It's going to be Rinat Fakhretdinov shaving the ass of Nicholas Dalby this week, even though I am part Danish and I respect the Danish durability of Nicholas Dalby and I love Nicholas Dalby as a fighter. I do believe that Rinat is a dominant fighter, so I've got him as the ass shaving of the week this week. We got Antonio Esparza. Did you give out the Bootsy dog of the week? Yes, I did. It is Muhammad Naimov this week because he's actually an underdog to Felipe Lima. Or not Felipe, Andre Lima. Right? Andre Lima? God damn it. Whatever. Lima. Robert Loggia as Frank equals legend. Yes, sir. There is no question about it. Never underestimate the other guy's greed. You gotta love Robert Loggia, man. And then, I have a lot of converters too. It's not completely manual, but it's still a lot of work. Respect. Appreciate you, Matt. But you guys, thank you for hanging out. 138 of you hanging out live with me. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Try to be my 3,000th subscriber. For the person that is my 3,000th subscriber, you will receive absolutely nothing. But you will be able to brag to your friends that you were the 3,000th subscriber to your Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel. Your friends will probably give you something for having done that. Me, I'm not going to give you shit. But I appreciate you guys because I just gave you a 4-leg parlay here. Let's go over it real quick again. Want to say oi to all my fans out there. Appreciate you guys. Here are the addresses, the Patreon, the Dub Club, the ways that you can support my work, get access to all of my stat packages, the individual fighter stats, the matchup stats that you see on the screen, the betting models for over-under bets, the betting models for KO, inside the distance, submission, decision bets. All these models will help you gauge price and not overpay when your stylistic read kind of matches the data read. And this is the best way to support my work. If you would join the Patreon, that would be a great help to me. 2 tiers. There's a $10 tier and a $25 tier. The $25 tier gives you access to Probability, which is a subscriber-only prop betting show where we break down, me and DFS by the numbers, break down all the plus EV bets on the card using our stylistic reads compared to what the betting models are telling us that I've created. So Patreon, Dub Club, best way to support the work. And I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Saudi Arabia. And then we will see you guys on Sunday night where Brady and I on his channel are going to break down on Stat Diggers at 6:15 Central Time all the fights that will be still left on the card by Sunday night for UFC 303. Who knows versus who knows. Thank you guys for hanging out. Let's make a bunch of money watching these fights on Saturday, and let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Saudi Arabia. God bless each and every one of you guys. See ya.